Internet. This is Kuma.
And this is Meme Night.
And we are here to welcome you to the very first episode of Off the Rails, a podcast where we just talk about what the fuck ever is on our mind. So this week we're actually in a little bit of a spooky mood, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we're here to talk about, like some very spooky things that we can recommend to ya. And maybe a horror movie review too, if you're in the mood.
Sure.
Okay, alright. So, let's start off the first item, Meme Night.
Yeah. I saw this thing called the Korean comic, which was pretty spooky, although it didn't actually work on my computer. Apparently there's this comic where it just seems like a normal webcomic with a girl walking home late at night. But then when you scroll down, it grabs your mouse and keeps scrolling down for you, and all sorts of freaky stuff happens.
Well, is there anything else you want to talk about and stuff?
Yes, I read this thing where someone asked some horror writer to make a one or a 2-sentence short story, and they said, "The last man on earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock on the door."
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, there are actually 4-5 things that I can recommend. Okay. Now, the first being is what is easily becoming one of my favorite webcomics of all time, Awful Hospital. Seriously, the worst ever. Now, it actually was made this... sorry about that. Stuttered a little bit. But it was actually made by this guy who's... God damn, I should have done more research. Man, I suck at this podcast thing. but seriously, it's on bogleech.com. The guy is actually super awesome. Just sort of all this very gross shit and this cartoonish detail, which is just sort of so delicious to me. But still, Awful Hospital follows the story of basically this woman whose baby is lost, and she wakes up in this very supernatural, very creepy-ass hospital that is, well, basically, the doctors are, kind of disturbing, this nurse filled, which is essentially an anthropomorphic bag filled with hypodermic needles, and of course this one doctor who was a virus with a bow tie.
Wow.
And of course, another is human, of course, talking doors, various talking disembodied body parts. And of course, one of the best things about it is, the viewer comments actually, take part in the story. You can actually influence the character, by saying your piece, putting your 2 cents in, which is one of the coolest things.
Yeah, audience interaction is pretty great, I think.
Oh, fuck, yeah. And, well... and of course it's, very spooky, silly sense of humor, and of course it's just so freaking awesome. Now, another one that I want to talk about is actually made from a friend of mine. His name is Maxwell Vex, or James Himes, or Jimmy Misanthrope. The fucker has more pen names than Joe Hill. Well, okay, I guess he's not a guy that is famous for pen names, but of course he's got only one pen name. Shut up. I ruin jokes, okay? I'm a joke killer. But still, this is actually one a little bit more family friendly, which is, but it's super fun, and it's in the beginning stages. Currently the artist is going through school right now. He's becoming this computer engineer and stuff.
Nice. And
he is working he is currently going to school, so the comic is basically on hiatus. Now, it actually depicts the tales of, Chelsea and Millie, 2 rambunctious little girls who, get into all sorts of shenanigans, ghost hunting, trying to capture a lost shadow, and something else. Well, okay, that's all I'm going to say because I honestly do not want to, spoil anything, despite the fact that it only has 3 stories. But despite the point, it is going to be coming back on soon, and I highly recommend that you look it up because, well, it is an awesome, comic, and as soon as it gets off hiatus, it is just picking up. I mean, of course, I've actually got like a little bit of contributions in there too, like the name of a ghost hunting society or something.
Nice.
I just love making up acronyms, by the way. Just putting it out there. As soon as the comic gets started up, you'll see. Now, another thing that I highly recommend is, okay, there's this guy, Linkara, on Top the Fourth Wall. He reviews comic books. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys have already heard of him, but I honestly want to recommend this because, well, he kind of does this thing every Halloween, and since it's October, it's actually kind of apt. Am I right?
Yeah.
So I'm actually just going to go ahead and recommend, sorry guys, I kind of have like this poor memory shit. It's BS, I know. It's, called From, the long box of, you know what, Meme Night, go ahead and talk about something while I look this shit up.
Alright. Yeah, and so I saw this, like, creepypasta a while back that someone had, like, turned into a rage comic and illustrated with all these meme faces, which was neat. And it was actually a pretty good creepypasta, I thought. There was this, let me see if I can remember it. There was someone who, there was someone who checks into like an old motel in the middle of nowhere, and they give them like the second to last room at the end, and the guy at the front desk says to not go near the room next to his with no number on it. Yeah, but so he goes into his room for the night, but then curiosity gets the best of him, and he goes to the room next door and looks through the keyhole, and all he sees a woman sitting on the bed facing away from the door with her head in her hands, and he hears her crying, but he doesn't think much of it and just goes back to bed. And then the next morning, before he checks out, he goes and looks through the keyhole again, but all he sees is redness. And so he figures she realized he was spying on her somehow and put something in front of the keyhole. So then he asks the front desk guy about it as he's checking out, and he says, "Well, I might as well tell you this story. Many years ago, a man murdered his wife in that room. The legend says that her ghost still haunts the place. She looks totally normal, except for her eyes. They were red."
Well, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that before, but it's spooky every time.
Yeah, it's pretty spooky for me too.
So, I finally looked it up. It's called Long Box of the Damned. And yeah, sorry for stumbling upon this, but if it works for Rick and Morty, it might as well hell work for me, god damn it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Get swifty, y'all. Well, still, it basically Long Box of the Damned, like every day showcases all these, like nice little spooky comic books that, he does. God damn it. Sorry, folks. So, basically, he showcases all these spooky comics like Batman's Mansion is Haunted.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, some other funny shit like Horror Lovers.
Nice.
But still, go ahead and see for yourself. Go to atopthefourthwall.com and tell them good old Kuma sent ya.
Nice.
and tell him why he hasn't answered my 5,000 letters. Doesn't he know that I'm his biggest fan? Oh man, it just hurts so much to be ignored. I mean, it's just enough to kill somebody. Sorry about that. Alright. Enough of that. Now, another thing that I want to recommend is like this stop motion web series called My Bedroom Door, which is actually nice and creepy. It just sort of like sets up a really good atmosphere, and stop motion ain't bad at all. The stop motion ain't bad at all. I mean, just like go ahead and go to like My Bedroom Door when you look up the YouTuber Hassani Walker, who actually has this, like fun speed draw stuff.
Nice.
Well, yeah, I mean, the guy's pretty talented. I mean, much more talented than me. Which kind of makes someone want to tear his art out and eat it and gain his artistic power. So I can draw something for once. As you guys can't tell, I'm a little messed up. So, yeah, that's actually kind of it for my recommendations. Do you have anything? You got anything spooky?
Not really. But speaking of tearing people's hearts out, there's an episode where Darkseid tries to carve out Superman's heart with a kryptonite knife, but then Lex Luthor, of all people, steps in to save him. Because he's like, no, I'm the only one allowed to defeat you.
Let's just fake it. Let's just face it. Lex Luthor wants to do Superman. He does want to dominate Superman, but he wants to dominate Superman.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what he wants. He wants that ass of steel.
Yeah, I've read someone's review of Superman Doomsday that was saying pretty much the same thing, because it opens and closes with Lex Luthor talking about Superman, and like in the beginning he's talking about how he's some great golden god made flesh, and the guy online was like, he's totally like hitting on Superman.
It especially doesn't help that he's got like the Superman clone tied up. Like, I'm talking about the animated movie, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what are we talking about? Of course we are. Well, what the fuck am I talking about? But still, it's especially homoerotic when you see Lex Luthor just sort of like in this kryptonite room with a weakened Superman with him, well, practically tied up, and beats him up with these kryptonite gauntlets with his shirt off.
Oh yeah.
You know he wants the A.
Yeah.
He wants to give that A the D.
Yeah. I saw that scene, remember? Okay.
Edmund Muffin?
Sure.
Okay, you too?
Sure.
Sure.
Thanks.
My treat. Okay.
Thanks.
That was my roommate, ladies and gentlemen.
Alright. Yeah.
Okay. Alright. But still, now, just to, like, keep with the theme of, like, Halloween and shit.
Yeah.
Imagine Lex Luthor doing Superman. That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about, like, Superman doing Lex Luthor. No. Lex Luthor, like, basically shoving his, let's face it, wood-hard junk in that steel-hard ass.
Man.
Just let it,
Yeah.
just let it fester in your mind.
It's-
Just, let it grow like a wicked seed. Let it haunt your nightmares for all eternity. And every single time you have sexual relations with your girlfriend or boyfriend, you will see only Superman doing Lex Luthor doing Superman. Unless you're into that kind of thing, then just imagine Lex Luthor doing a dead squirrel. just in case, just to add some extra spook factor.
Yeah, I was thinking if Superman's ass like tensed up like reflexively, it probably just squeezed Luther's dick off or something.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, I've actually, like heard someone talk about comics that had Superman, like accidentally make him bald.
Oh yeah.
That would be like another reason to hate Superman. Yeah, there was a time that I just sort of like fuck this guy named Clark Kent up the ass. He was a little too squeamish. I was a little too hard. And then he clenched, and then I lost my dick, and that's how I found out Clark Kent was Superman.
It'd be the worst superhero reveal ever. It's kind of like in high school we called it falling out of the closet when a dude accidentally was outed as gay.
And it's also called, there's also like a thing called transparent closet where everybody knows you're gay, but you try and keep it a secret anyway.
Right. Like some people were saying about Channing Tatum, like when he came out, everyone was like, I didn't even know he was in the closet. I thought it was obvious.
Wait, he came out?
Yeah. That's what I heard.
Well, that is some interesting. That is like the second most interesting news I heard this weekend.
What's the first?
Figuring out that Macaulay Culkin wasn't actually dead.
Yeah.
Yes! After all these years where I thought Macaulay Culkin fucking overdosed because I heard so much news about it, it turns out it was a hoax. So all this time I was pussyfooting, around insulting his awful acting. Now I can just sort of like insult his awful acting, guilt-free. And what the fuck is he gonna do anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy probably has like this meth body or something.
Yeah, it's probably more meth than man at this point.
He's more meth than man now.
Yeah, at least they haven't tried to do a million Home Alone movies like they have with, I don't know, Terminator or something.
Look it up. You'll be surprised. Now that's a scary thought. A shit ton of Home Alone sequels. I actually just saw Mike J, another recommendation, review Home Alone 5.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Damn.
Somebody was trying to milk it.
Wow.
So, okay. We've done our recommendations. We've done our little banter. Now, let's get on with the review. Now, we're just going to review something that we both saw recently, Crimson Peak.
Yeah.
And let's just start with what Mean Knight has to say.
Yeah, I thought it was good overall. It's a lot of... it was pretty predictable. Some of the twists you could see coming from a mile away. But overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, same here. I mean, there were a lot of story cliches, and of course, the ghosts, except for being, plot lines, didn't really factor into anything, really.
Right.
I mean, that actually kind of pissed me off. I mean, Guillermo del Toro, you're one of my favorite directors. You actually... Come on, you Pacific Rim, Hellboy,
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth. The Devil's Backbone. The Orphanage. You can do better, man.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, even that Book of Life movie that you produced was better than that. Yeah. And hell, I can actually make a lot of complaints about that movie as much as I sort of liked it. Yeah. The visuals were pretty at the very least. The same I can say about Crimson Peak. I mean, the ghosts are very imaginative.
Yeah.
But it just seems like a drive-by haunting, boo, bitch. Never seen again.
Right. Yeah, or see them 5 times, but not really having any closure with it.
I know, it's just super sad. I mean, of course, other than that, it actually did have like a very, like better than okay story. I mean, like he said, the plot points are very predictable.
Yeah.
And of course, when you see Loki on the screen, you're expecting a trick.
Right.
Let's just fucking face it. When you see Tom Hiddleston, you're gonna go, okay, this is Loki and one of his tricks. What the fuck is he trying to do? What the fuck is he trying to do to trick us?
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry, T-Man. You've been typecasted. I mean, it's not our fault that you're such a talented enough actor to, bring this otherwise sort of bland villain from the comics to life.
Yeah. They wanted Benedict Cumberbatch to play the character that was eventually Tom Hiddleston's character. And he did it for a little bit, but then I heard he backed out for, I think, scheduling reasons. Not sure.
And now Benedict Cumberbatch is Doctor Strange, which I must say is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Now, all right, you know what? To move away from the review section, because of course we like to keep it short and spoiler free and stuff, and talk about the casting for the Ancient One in the upcoming Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One instead of some old Chinese guy.
Now, of course, I've actually heard, talk and some speculation, some hate, some love. I mean, first of all, Tilda Swinton, I approve. I approve as the Ancient One. I mean, I honestly do not mind a female mentor. And obviously, it's been established that, this cinematics universe is in another dimension anyway. So, things are bound to be different. So, bitches could stop complaining about how it's not faithful to the comic. Hell, comics are not faithful to the comic. So, seriously, cool it. Enjoy the movie for what it is. I mean, if it makes some grave error like Iron Man fucks a dead baby, then you could be outraged, because that is just outright disgusting. But if something simple like, oh yeah, Iron Man's armor is not supposed to, move by itself, face it, that was a fucking awesome visual. And it actually does kind of make sense for a genius like Tony Stark. For those who are saying, but that gets rid of the point of Iron Man. Stop it! Stop it!
It's like complaining that the Mandarin isn't like an old Chinese guy who says R's in place of all his L's. Like, it just wouldn't really make sense to complain about that.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I was disappointed about, the whole Mandarin thing, false advertisement and all that, but I actually understand what they were trying to do, trying to create a sense of surprise, and plus, the Mandarin wasn't even in the movie.
Right.
I mean, it was just sort of like a huge ruse.
Pretty much.
Which, for a twist ending, I kind of did, respect. But still, on to the Tilda Swinton thing. Now, I am both for and against it, because I am totally against the whitewashing, which is why I kinda hated Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. I mean, a Mexican character that was turned a British guy, which, I did like his performance, and of course I know he gets a lot of hate, but of course I could create some counter arguments, for why he's actually a pretty good villain. But of course, the next time they portray Bane, make him Mexican.
Right, and give him these gratuitous Spanish lines like, oh, first I break the bruja, then you, or something.
Maybe. But still, the whole whitewashing thing. Yeah, she's not going to be Asian, but female mentor, teaching a dude how to use magic, and of course it's going to be Victorian. I mean, I actually do kind of like that. I mean, I do kind of like that. I mean, it's sort of like, would definitely complement Tilda Swinton's, white witchness.
Yeah, I saw this thing that said, it was two pictures. One of them had Benedict Cumberbatch it, as like the he was in front of the TARDIS, and the second one was him as Doctor Strange, and it said you wanted him to be the next Doctor. BBC said no. Marvel said yes.
Okay, so yeah, let's just see how it plays out, and at least it beats having like a super stereotypical, like wise Asian man, which is, like definitely faithful to the comics. I'm just really sure it just would be, like too stereotypical. I mean, now if they had an Asian woman, that would be super awesome. But, like Tilda Swinton, yeah, I approve. I cannot wait to see her, like completely different iteration of the ancient one, and like that's actually the best thing about comics. The comics is, like a lot of the more legendary immortal comics are, like very legendary because, well, they have been interpreted, like these, like little times. Sorry, my phone is blowing me up. These, like many times, like in these different ways, like involving, like the different views of different people, and yet still, like somewhat keeping true. I mean, like some are bad, some are good, but let's face it, life is bad, life is good, life is different, life is just sort of like tonally raped. and I guess, like these constant changes within the comics, within these characters that we love, I guess that's what makes it immortal, because we've got the writers to, like, who are still interested, who are still, like, let's face it, pushing it on us. And, of course, we love it and shit. I'm not very good at these speeches.
It's good that they're always pushing the envelope and doing a bunch of different stuff rather than just doing the same kind of plot every week or every month or however often their comic comes out. That reminds me of a short story I read, which was kind of talking about how life is good and bad. These aliens land and ask this guy to describe all of humanity in one sentence. And first he thinks of all the bad things that people do to each other. Then he thinks of all the good things people do for each other. Then he looks the alien in the eye and says, "We're a work in progress."
Yep. So, let's get back onto the Halloween train, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's, like, pull another section of the show out of our ass.
Sounds good.
So, why don't I talk about, like, my favorite creepypasta?
Alright.
Which is, Mr. Widemouth.
Uh-huh.
Which is a story of a little boy who was, like, bedridden, and is constantly visited by this cat-like imp who calls himself Mr. Widemouth because he smiles quite literally from ear to ear. Of course, they would play games, or Mr. Widemouth would try and convince him to play games, like if you pretend there's a trampoline at the bottom of the building, and if you jump, you will bounce back up, light as a feather. And I want to teach you how to juggle. There are some things that you need, like knives. And seriously, it's like really freaking spooky. I mean, a lot of people would imagine him as this little imp, but I actually sort of like imagine him as like this great big Barney-like character with like this big smile, just sort of like looking down at you, like making you feel even more helpless.
Yeah.
But like that's just me, and if you imagine him as the little imp as like like everybody else, more power to you. So do you have anything else to say, bud?
Not at the moment.
Well, I honestly do not have anything else to say, so let's say we just end it here.
Alright, sounds good.
Okay, thank you everybody. See you later, and thank you for listening to our first podcast. I promise we will get better in the end. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Possibly will continue to suck. I mean, there are a lot of YouTubers that suck that, like somehow garner popularity anyway.
Yeah.
Like Smosh. And at one point, Ray William Johnson.
I used to watch him a lot. Yeah, like that guy said about humanity. We're also a work in progress.
Yeah. So, yes, thanks for watching, and new podcast every other week on Saturday night, and possibly, like another thing by me every other week too, so we are going to keep like a weekly thing. Yeah, I'm sorry for not inviting you weekly, dude, but sometimes a guy's got to have his own bro time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I couldn't blame you.
Yep, so we'll see you guys later. And try not to put any razors in candy, because if you do, the spirit of vengeance will get you and fucking choke you with a burning chain. And I'll be there to watch. And you will cry because you know you deserve it for hiding razors and candy, you godless heathen. Happy Halloween, y'all.
Happy Halloween.